It's interesting for me to come to the chapter meeting. I haven't been to one in a while, to be quite honest with you. But it's interesting to kind of be referred to as the OG, the original gangster of PMI, Hampton Roads. Because when I first discovered PMI, when I first discovered the chapter, I really didn't know what I was doing at all when it came to project management. So I had been doing project management ever since I got out of Virginia Tech. And I first went into construction project management, and I got paired up with a project manager, and my learning started with him. And he was kind of trying to figure it out himself. And so I tried to kind of figure out project management by the side. And it wasn't until years later that I discovered that all of the things that I had tried and typically failed at in project management, just trial and error, trial and error, trial and error, a lot of those things had actually been documented, and people in the industry, in the project management industry, had already tried it, done it, documented, and there was actually a book out there that told you how to do it. Like, I did not know about the PMBOK at all until I discovered the PMBOK and PMI and PMP all at once. And so that discovery was just amazing to me, because I felt like I was just struggling on my own, and I didn't know what to do. I was just trying anything. And so when I found PMI, I was definitely very, very excited about it, because like I said, there was all of a sudden a community of people that I could lean on and learn from and hopefully get better. And so I embraced PMI, and I started to think about going for the PMP, and I went to my employer at the time, and I had talked to some of the employees that were at my last employer before I went out on my own, and they were also interested in PMI and PMP, and so we had this little cohort of people that were going to study together for the PMP and then become PMPs. And so it was kind of exciting for me that we all wanted the same thing. And we brought it to the leadership of the company, and the leadership said, "We don't want you to do it." So not only I thought maybe they would be lukewarm about it because they had their own training program, but they actively discouraged us from doing it. So I had a decision to make. Should I pursue my PMP and kind of align myself with PMI and bet on myself when it came to my career, or should I align myself with my employer and potentially risk my career there? Because when the CEO of a 300-person company tells you shouldn't do this, I don't want you to do it, that's definitely a decision point. And I decided that I needed to take control of my own career. And so I went ahead and I, as gracefully as possible, didn't piss them off too much at the time, but I went ahead and I studied for the PMP. I paid for it myself. I got all of Rita's materials. I got the book. I got the audio flashcards, which were like CD style at the time. So I put them in the car. I got the prep exam for the computer, and so I just studied, and then I submitted my application. And I was one of the lucky 1 or 2% of applicants that got audited by PMI. So who here has been audited by PMI? All right, it's a fun audit, let me tell you. I don't know, so for those that haven't been audited, I'm sure you remember in your application you had to write down where you worked and what PMI relevant experience you got at each job, and then the person that they could call upon to confirm that if needed. So, I'm filling out my application, and I'm basically just trying to get the application in. When I get audited, they say you need to have those people that you listed like a month ago, you need to get in touch with them, and they need to write a letter to verify that you actually did the things that you said you did in your application. They need to put their letter in an envelope, seal it, sign the back over the seal, mail it to you, you get your transcripts, and you bundle all that together, and then you send it into PMI, and then PMI makes a final adjudication about whether they're going to let you sit for the exam or not. So it was a big process, and it took me like at least 2 or 3 months. Was that your experience? So I was ready for the exam, and then 2 or 3 months passed, and I was trying to get all this paperwork together, and I didn't study. And what do you think happened to all those project management skills that I had? Yeah. So I had to go through the process again, right? So after I got approved by PMI, I had to start all over, and maybe from like the 50-yard line, but still I had a lot of studying to do. So I crammed, sat for the exam, passed it, became a PMP. But it was an ordeal, but it made me really respect the certification. They don't just give it to anybody. You don't just pay your amount, whatever the fee is or was at the time, which I totally forget how much it was. But you don't just pay it, send it in, and all of a sudden you're a certified project manager. It means something. And I studied for it twice, and I think a lot of that education just kind of sunk in. And I've been able to take that experience and that learning with me for the next at least 10 years. It's probably been 10 years that I've been a project manager. So I told you that the company wasn't real excited that I was pursuing a PMP, and it didn't turn out that great for me at that company. But I was also, I found myself in kind of a low point in my career and almost in life at the tail end of that job and that period of time, where I had been working for a government contractor for 9 years at that point, and I don't have any military experience besides that job. So I was kind of an outsider, an IT guy, working on base, and it kind of ran its course. I was ready for a change. My position at the company wasn't all that certain as far as the future goes, to be quite honest with you. And so I knew I needed to make a change, and I leaned on my project management skills to plan a transition out of that world, the DoD world, and into a commercial world, the commercial software development. I was doing software development at the time. And so I exited, I transitioned. After coming up with a plan, the plan took me about 6 or 9 months to actually come up with this plan and then implement it. And I was able to transition fairly smoothly. I never missed a mortgage payment or anything crazy like that. But all of a sudden I was in business for myself, and I was doing software development day in and day out while also trying to manage projects. So I was leaning very, very heavily on my project management skills and then also the technical skills that I utilized at the time. But it's actually kind of a common theme for me. Like throughout my whole career, I've balanced between whatever my technical skills were at the time and project management back and forth, 2 years on, 2 years off. And I went through a phase where I was doing both simultaneously. Transitioning into being an entrepreneur was a big shock for me. And one of the things that I really needed again, just like when I was struggling before with my previous job and I didn't know about PMI, is I needed a community to lean on. And so I leaned on this local chapter, and I volunteered to be some volunteer in the communications department. I forget which one it was, and no one ever called me back. And so I was kind of bummed at first. But then a position came open where they were looking for, I think it was the director of marketing was what it was called at the time. And I thought, oh, marketing, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'd like marketing. And so I volunteered for that position. I got the position. I'm on the board all of a sudden. So I got on the board. And Jerry, were you on the board at the time?
2 years later.
Okay, all right. Tony was on the board. Yeah. So Tony and I served together. And it was just a great experience to be on the board. It took the volunteerism to a whole new level, and then being able to serve with people like Tony and others on the board was just amazing. It was a great time. It's exactly like PMI at that time for me was just exactly what I needed. I had the hard skills that PMI and the PMP provided, and then I had the community that I was looking for, and so I leaned very, very heavily on PMI to kind of find my way through this strange time of my career. And then one thing led to another, and I was asked to become the president. And for those that don't know, the president is actually a 3-year term. So you're the
Not attack and release.
You're the president-elect for a year, which means you basically hang out and learn. and then you're the president for a year, and then you're the past president for a year. And as a past president, you're really just kind of the old guy on the board to let people know like why the things that are stupid now, why you made those decisions in the past. Just to kind of put some context into why things are the way they are. So I did that, and then I actually came back. I took a year off of the board, and then I came back again to be the past president because there was an opening, and so I did that. But again, I leaned on PMI the whole time, and then as I was building up my company and I was thinking about what I wanted to do, and if even software development was the right thing for me as I built the company up, it really made me think ahead about planning and execution. And a lot of what I do these days is how I integrate clients in with our company and how we communicate. I'm constantly talking about the complexity of communicating and communications, and the more people that are involved in a communications system, the more complex it gets. I totally forget the formula, but you know what I'm talking about. Every single person, it's not just a +1 in complexity, it's much more than that. And so everything that I learned from PMP and PMI has for me, just continued to be of great value to me. I'm still a PMP. I probably will be forever. My credential renews at the end of this year, and I need a few PDUs. So if I could get a few extra from this talk, I'd appreciate it. Yeah, all right, cool. So that's about it. I just wanted to encourage everybody here to get to know the people that you come with, because for me, the community, like I said, was something that I leaned on very, very heavily, and the relationships of the people that I met throughout my experience on the board and being super active in the chapter, those relationships persist, and I still refer back to those experiences. So I definitely encourage you, don't just come and get your PDUs and then leave. Get to know the people that are here, and instead of going to the same people that you know from previous employments or previous times that you've attended these meetings and going right to the familiar people that you know, go to the unfamiliar people. If you see someone that's new to a meeting, walk up to them and say hi, embrace them. Because kind of like me, I really needed PMI at the time, and it really helped me, and it frankly saved me. But if PMI hadn't embraced me back, then I don't know where I'd be. So think about the community first and foremost. I think that's why everyone's here is not strictly for the PDUs, but it's for the community. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. And we have a little gift for you tonight.
Excellent.
We obviously didn't bring enough Jefferson cups, so I gave you something that you could really use.
I appreciate it.
So I appreciate it. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
All right.